don't you know, the blower from the neighborhood is. Okay, here we go. Stand by. Oh boy, there we are. Hello, everybody. It's 3 p.m. and it's time for dinner with Nanny Bubby, but it's also time to learn all about love in a Tuscan kitchen. So please welcome along with me, Sheryl Ness and her Italian husband, chef, Vincenzo Giangiordano. How's that? Did I say it correctly? So
that name is so hard.
I know, my last name is long.
What'd you say?
My last name is so long.
Yeah.
It is so long. That's okay. That's
Hi,
okay.
everyone.
There's lots of things. So we have a lot of people coming on to find us. I'm just going to start out by telling everybody, hi, everybody. This is great. Everybody, that if you are here, you have to type something in the comments, because the only way that we know that you're here so that we can enter you in the contest to win. You know what, Sheryl, do you want to show the book?
Yes.
Here we go. Do you want to come up a little bit closer? So some lucky person who is watching today is going to win their cookbook and their story, Love in a Tuscan Kitchen. And also the herbs that are a special blend of Tuscan herbs. There you go. Just turn it just slightly. Just, yeah, the other way so we can see the herbs. There we go. Yeah. And so somebody today is going to win that. And we're going to pull the name at the end. So Lucy is here. My mom is here. Judy is here and says, hello, Vincenzo and Sheryl. Megan is here. Jen Hill is here. Lucy is here. So anybody who is here, that's not quite 6 people. So we have to just again say, listen, if you are watching right now, I'm going to say this 100 times during the show so that everybody gets an ability to be entered for the drawing. If you are watching, type something in the comment section. Type hello, type love, type, you know, I'm here, type anything you want so that we know you're here. Type what?
Type ciao.
Ciao. Ciao, right? Everything. So everybody can win. And she says her friend Frank Solly brought her. So good. And if you are a guest of somebody who asked you to come today, then definitely type their name and that enters them to win a second time. So that's great. Frank isn't here yet, but I can guarantee you he will be. So let's talk about love to start with. So I know you've got 2 fabulous recipes that you're going to do for us. But before you do those recipes, I want to welcome you to Nanny Bubby's Kitchen, if I haven't already.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, I'm so happy your dad is doing well. Everybody was
Yes, oh my God. Yeah.
He's doing fine. He's back home. Thank you for rescheduling last week. Appreciate it.
We listen, this is life, right? Life, kitchen, these things happen.
Yeah.
So how did you guys meet? The short version is that you met over a piece of chocolate cake and you fell in love even though neither of you could speak each other's language. So tell us
exactly
about that.
The language of love was food. And yeah, we met because I asked Vincenzo for his recipe for hot chocolate cake. And that was in 2008. We've been married 11 years. Our anniversary is actually this weekend. And so that was the start of it, though. I'd eaten at his restaurant quite a bit. I was staying in Tuscany with some friends. And I was just about to leave to go home. And I'd eaten this cake quite a few times. And I love to cook. I love to understand really true, authentic recipes. So I just, by chance, asked the waiter if he could give me the recipe. And that was Marco. He's one of the partners that was part of Vincenzo's restaurant. And he said, sure, let's go talk to Vincenzo. And I was really shocked because in the US, you can't just walk back and talk to the chef, much less get a recipe, you know.
Right. So, and did you say that the recipe is hot chocolate cake? Is that what you call it?
Hot chocolate cake.
Yeah.
And we call it the love cake, and it's definitely in the book. There are 38 recipes in the book, but each chapter of the book has recipes that kind of go along with the story and they tie in really nicely. So the chapter that describes how we met and how we fell in love, of course, has the love cake in it. And it's often requested when we do different events here, when we cook with people. It's just a really lovely recipe. And of course, it's one of my favorites. And we still make it a lot.
So let me ask you a question, right? Like if, oh my gosh, if Diane Lane was playing Love in a Tuscan Kitchen, right? And she walked back into that kitchen and to ask the chef his recipe, like would the music change? Like what happened when you said, so can I have that recipe? Like, was it like an out of body experience, or did it just go by you by the wayside and it just came back later on?
Oh, no, I definitely had the sensation that there was a connection right away, even though he told me right away, I don't speak English. And I could speak very little Italian, but I could understand him quite a bit. I just didn't know if I could get the recipe, that, you know, all the details. So my friend's little girl, Emma, who I was nanny to at the time, she was 7. She was our little Cupid because she was bilingual at that point. She spoke English and Italian. She loved Vincenzo. She already knew him. And she helped me translate the recipe the next day. And so, but when I walked into the kitchen, it was sort of like an deja vu experience. Like I'd been there before. I didn't know why I felt that way. As soon as I saw Vincenzo, there was this connection with his eyes and his smile. He was really welcoming, and I thought, I need to know more about this guy. I knew that he cared about people through his food. He was very caring, just by the way he created the food that we were eating. So.
And the next day, I asked her for if she liked the coffee with me.
Oh.
That was our real date. Yeah.
And I am sure, I don't know, she says he's married, or I just asked.
And I said yes.
I am sure he's maybe.
I didn't even think of it.
So I'm curious to ask Vincenzo, like when she walked in, well, first of all, were either of you married before you met each other?
Yes. So I had been married and divorced. I was young when I got married and I got divorced at age 30. You know, this is the other thing about our story is I found him really, you know, midlife. I was 41 when we met, and Vincenzo had never been married. He said he never got out of the kitchen.
I'm always working my life.
He was always working.
Right.
So the only way he was gonna meet someone probably is if they walked into his kitchen like I did.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask Chef a question, but before I do, I just want to read a few of these. I want to say hello to Teresa Anderson, who is here. Sue Rainish is here. Hi, Sue. Roseanne says to both of you, happy anniversary, Sheryl and
Thank you.
Because this is your, what anniversary is this coming up?
11.
Yeah.
Number 11.
Wow. And Frank Sully is here. My mom is here. Judy Wood says your book needs to be a movie. I said Diane Lane, and she was like, it's all about that for her. For sure.
We already have the characters picked out. I think maybe Stanley Tucci could play Vincenzo.
Oh my God, yes.
About me.
God. Yes.
Something like that. I don't know.
I think he would love to based on what he says. And also Lene is here. She says happy anniversary. Jennifer Tuttle just stopped in. So hey there, Jennifer. And Roseanne is keeping track on her end of everybody that is coming in to enter the contest. Oh, Jim Benvenuti is here. So write down Jim. Lucy and Anderson. And Jennifer Tuttle just popped in. If I didn't already say that, I can't remember. So, and Sue said she missed the name of the book. It is called Love in a Tuscan Kitchen. And Sue, if you win the book, then you'll have no trouble remembering the title. Chef, tell me this, Vincenzo, like from a man's point of view, did like the seas part, did everything go black in the kitchen and all you did, there was a spotlight on Sheryl? Like what did you feel when you saw her?
Well, I am very shocked with that her eyes.
Yeah, we both connected through our eyes. For sure.
Eyes, okay.
Yeah. Boom.
Yeah, I have these, you know, my dad's bright blue eyes.
And I told you, next day, I just asked, I am sure he told me no. Yes, okay, I am happy because I am very happy, but the problem, I don't speak nothing English.
Yeah, we were both sort of panicked as to what to do at that point, because I had agreed to go on a date with him, and he had asked me, and we were both like, oh my gosh, how are we going to communicate? So we had our dictionaries.
So what happens like in the mind of a 40-year-old man who's never been married? Like, how does a 40-year-old man who's never been married all of a sudden flip a switch and say, I've been waiting for this woman to walk into my kitchen
Yeah,
for all of my life, and here she is.
Yes, because a bit her eyes is very speak everything.
My eyes say it all. Yeah. Well, and Vincenzo is younger than me. So just to give him credit, he was younger, and he is still younger than me, obviously, 8 years.
Right. Not like a dog where suddenly they come in as a baby and then they're older than you, right? They pass you over time, right?
We both had relationships. So he'd been in relationships and discovered, what didn't work and what did. I think at that point in our life, we just knew right away what we were looking for. I knew the things I didn't want and the things I did want in a person. And I think you learn that as you make mistakes and you're in and out of relationships and you understand what you want. I felt like it was sort of magical that it happened to me because I'd sort of given up.
The same me.
Yeah. So I can tell you, if you're in that place, as long as your heart is open and you recognize what's in front of you, like I was allowing life to surprise me at that point in my life because I was welcome to, I was welcoming it. And I think you were too when you were ready for it. And we both felt like it was worth, learning a different language or trying to overcome these barriers. And in the process, we learned to communicate without words really well. So I can read him without him saying anything, and he can also read me, which is a nice thing to have in a marriage.
Yes.
We're really good with that. So,
it's a funny thing. I think that when your heart is open, so for me, I had such a closed heart when it came to cooking. I believed I was a professional. I was a businesswoman. There's a piece of the American culture that says, if you're educated, you're too important to be in the kitchen and cooking, and so it's easier to go through the drive-through because that's less, apron strings. So I had that kind of an attitude. And when I went through a period of my life where my heart was open to just anything. Like I went down to the bottom of my driveway and I didn't know whether I was going to make a right or a left. Honestly,
isn't that great?
I'd get down there and go, which way should I go today, Marla? And, let's go. and when you live life, and we forget to do it because we all know how amazing it is when we do it, right?
I know.
But even when you live life with an open heart, even when I first started doing my lives every single day, in the beginning, I was so worried about it and I'd plan. But as I got more comfortable, I would not know what I would be cooking live for my audience.
I love it.
Until I came down to the kitchen at 2 o'clock to prep. And then I'd say, okay, well, what do I have today? And suddenly putting things together that I never imagined that I would put together and it just kind of worked out. And so I think that whether you're looking for your next best move in life, whether you're looking for love, whether you're looking for a career, is that if you can just, as I say, trust with confidence beyond reason, that what you are wanting is going to arrive. It's trying to find you as hard as you're trying to find it, him or her, and along it comes. In my case, I was looking for oregano and basil, and who knew it was always there. It was always there.
I know, and I think I talk about that in the book too, that you have to put it out there too. You have to talk to people about what you need. I mean, if it's a big decision, obviously, talk to other people and share what you want or what you need in life. And otherwise, no one's going to know that you need that, or the universe or sort of that energy around you is not going to know. But yeah, I think we both cared for people through our food. I had grown up with a mom who taught me how to cook for a farm family, and that's how she cared for us. And so even though I was a busy nurse, and I always kept that kind of connection to cooking. It was important to me. So it's kind of fun because people will often say, well, isn't it great? Your husband probably cooks for you every night. And I said, no, I actually really love cooking for him. And he's kind of tired of cooking after working in the restaurant.
All that. So I just want to say hello to a few people. My sister is here.
Yes.
Heather, Abby Milan is here. Bang Boas is here. Teresa, Cynthia Berman, Rainish. Frank is here. Frank said if your chocolate cake could find Sheryl, maybe it could do something for him. So he wants the recipe.
You never know.
You never know. Roseanne is here. My mom is here. Adrian Glussman is here. So before you start your recipes, which I just want to add, it's panzanella and it is a lavender biscotti. And so before we get to that, I have one question for you. So I'm sure, Vincenzo, you weren't even alive when I'm going to refer back to, but in the late 60s and 70s, it was a very common thing that when female American tourists or females anywhere traveled to Rome specifically, that you felt, do you know what I'm going to ask, Sheryl? Do you? Okay. So, and I was only 17 years old, but I cannot tell you how many people told me before I left to go that if you don't get your little tush pinched by an Italian man while you're there, then consider yourself very unattractive to Italian men. So literally as teenage girls, we were like, well, we were scared, number one, but we were also kind of like, oh my God, what happens if nobody pinches our bottoms? Which I can't even imagine happening in today's world, right? Like that's got to be like, you'd get arrested for that today, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. But what I really want to know is like, where did that, when did that, and how did that piece of the culture shift? Do you know?
It's a tough question, I think, to understand.
Praticamente.
E se qualcuno fa questi
Italian first.
Now it's not. Yes, before yes, now not.
Right, now not, right?
Yeah,
but in Italy, in Italy,
they're very expensive.
We talk a lot with our hands.
Right.
Or your face expression.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is why sometimes it's good and not. It depends.
Yeah, you always know right where you stand. But it's funny that you say that though, because my very first trip to Italy, which wasn't when I met Vincenzo, I was walking with my friend in Florence, and I got a little pinch from a gentleman who was probably 80.
Oh, right. So he hadn't adjusted to the new culture, right?
He was probably just, and I was surprised by it. So I was sort of like, what happened?
Right.
And then I realized that it was a kind of a compliment, right? So
yeah, exactly. And I think to myself, how the world has changed.
Oh yes.
Over the years. So we're going to get started cooking, but before we do, I just want to remind everyone, Rosanna's just posted. All viewers, please post something so we know you're there. Say hello, say I'm here. Something want to see the contest. If someone invited you, please type their name so they get the right to be entered twice. And with that, are we going to do the panzanella or the biscotti first?
So we're going to start with the biscotti because it needs to go in the oven. And then when it's in the oven, we'll switch to making the panzanella, and then we'll finish the biscotti at the end.
Okay, let's do it.
So Vincenzo and I are both cooking today. This actually is my recipe. The lavender ginger biscotti is in the book. It's featured in the book, and it's probably one of my most favorite biscotti recipes. And it's loved by everyone who tries it. It was inspired by a trip to Provence, actually. And then when I had time, when I lived in Italy, the biscotti idea came to be. So I combined this love of French and Italian ideas.
She made biscotti for me for the breakfast.
Yeah, I know you make Vincenzo biscotti in the morning. So I know you have the recipe, but you start out with the butter, and it is a stick of butter or half a cup. Vincenzo's going to be my sous chef.
Oh, I love that.
I love it.
I wouldn't give for that, let me tell you.
I know, he's so incredible. And then you just want to take your lemon and zest it really good.
Okay.
I always try to infuse the flavors of the lemon and the lavender into the butter before I mix it with anything else.
I love
I think
that.
it adds a little intensity. So you just want to zest most of your lemon here. And I try to use organic, so you have a lemon peel that's nice and fresh and tastes really wonderful. And then you want to use your lavender. You can use dried lavender flowers that are from the culinary section, like your herb section.
Right.
And it's I always just guess because I've made this so many times, but it's a couple tablespoons of this, and you take the flowers and you just kind of rub them in your fingers to release the flavor of the lavender. Now,
I just want to say to all of our viewers, just like I visited Temecula Olive Oil Company, I'm hoping to go with Cynthia to the lavender farm at the first month. So that will be great. We can all use this recipe for what we learned about lavender.
That's
Tani
perfect.
Bennett is here. Hello, Tani. Good to have you here. We're learning all about Love in a Tuscan Kitchen. And if you invited anybody, Tani, make sure that they type your name as well.
Okay, so I've got the lemon, the lavender, and the butter, and then oh yeah, and you want to make sure your butter is soft. That's what Vincenzo is saying. In the summer, of course, that's no problem. In the winter, sometimes I forget, and you want it to make sure it's nice and soft so it comes together really well. So it's just kind of like any other cookie recipe. You want to cream the butter and the sugar, and then you add your 1 egg.
So I want to say hi to Julie Neal. She is here. And Julie, you need to type something in the comment section because Roseanne can't see you're here and she's keeping track of it. I can see because I own the page, but Roseanne can't. So type hello, everybody, from Julie Neal. Go ahead.
Hi, everybody. So now we have the egg in there. You can see it's turning really nice and creamy. I try to have the egg at room temperature too. And I do have the oven at 375. So that's been warming up for a while. Okay. So once you have your egg, your lavender, your lemon, and your sugar together, then you can start adding some of your other flavors. And I always do this the reverse way. Some people add their baking powder and their salt with the flour, but I always put it in now, just so it has a chance to really incorporate into the butter. But if you're one of those people who's a true, really baker, you can put it in with your dry ingredients.
And so what did you put in just now? You put in flour and baking soda or baking powder?
I use baking powder.
And what else?
3/4 of a teaspoon of baking powder and then sea salt.
And then what else did you put in?
Sea salt.
Oh, sea salt. Okay. Baking powder and sea salt. Okay.
Yep. And then I'm just going to add a splash of vanilla. Okay. It's about two teaspoons.
Okay.
I always just
can never put in too much vanilla, right?
And can you? But the secret is, of course, to using really good vanilla. You see, I have a giant bottle of it. I actually make my own with vodka and vanilla beans. Do you? Yes, I just love it. I started doing that in Italy, and I just kept doing it because it was so nice. And I use so much vanilla. It's kind of expensive, and it's an easy way to keep your vanilla fresh.
How long do you let your vanilla become vanilla?
Usually 2 or 3 weeks. I have one going, and then I switch over to another. I usually have 2 bottles going because we use it so much.
So I know Ina Gardner said that she's had the same bottle going for almost 30 years. So Lucy says, Biscotti are part of my baking routine for Christmas. I love Biscotti.
Oh, well, this is a really great base recipe. I created this recipe kind of based on the American cookie and the Biscotti from Italy, which Biscotti can be very hard. You have to usually dunk them, but
it's the same.
These are soft.
It's the same.
They're soft Biscotti.
Yeah, this is soft.
They're a little bit softer.
This one is between
a cookie and
American and Italian because this is almost the same. You know the Cantucci?
If you've been to Italy, you might have tasted
in Tuscany. It's very hard.
Those are really hard.
In fact, you need to push into the wine.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Anything?
Yes, this is the typical dessert from from Tuscany. It's
Yeah.
Cantucci in the sweet wine.
So good.
It's very hard. This is soft.
Or coffee. I also dip these. I like to dip them in Prosecco or Rosé in the summer. It's also really good with ice cream. So I added the candied ginger, and that you chop really kind of into smaller pieces. I tend to use quite a bit of candied ginger. It's a strong flavor though, so you can overdo it. So I think the recipe.
Find your candied ginger. Do you find it at Trader Joe's or where do you
Trader Joe's.
Yes.
I love Trader Joe's. We shop almost exclusively at Trader Joe's for our flour. Like I just put these roasted almonds in. They're just beautiful every time. We're big fans. So the almonds going next. And then instead of using a darker chocolate, for this one, it seemed to need something more delicate. So I use white chocolate.
White chocolate.
I love
And
that.
it's really a nice flavor. So your flavors are white chocolate, lavender, ginger, lemon, and a little crunch from the almonds. So that's the
You
base.
finally chopped the almonds, did you?
I keep them whole, but you can chop them if you prefer.
Oh, okay. You keep them whole. And are
I
they
keep them whole.
toasted or are they
They are roasted
You
roasted
know,
with the skins or with the skins?
Yep. with the skins. I like it because when you cut the biscotti, then you have this beautiful cross section of the white and then the skin.
because this
So for me, I like it that way, but you can do whatever you choose.
because this
One
particular
comment- Go ahead, chef. Go ahead.
oh sorry, because this particular cookies Cantucci in Tuscany is with the skin. Is why
Yeah,
and she
it's
mix.
sort of a nod to the
So
Cantucci.
one comment, Lucy and Sulaco, who obviously is 100% Italian.
Italian.
Yes. And she actually was my guest yesterday because she won the summer barbecue tournament
Oh,
contest. So we
cool.
cooked fillets yesterday, which by the way, her recipe was amazing.
I think I saw part
The
of that.
best day of my life. So thank you so much, Lucy. It was fantastic. But she said that her family called biscottis, like you're making, they called them sponge biscotti.
Oh,
And-
yes.
But she
Mhm.
makes harder ones, but she says she's gonna try your recipe. And Frank asked, where do you get the lavender?
Yeah, so a lot of people ask me that. I find it in various places. I usually harvest some when I'm with my friend in Italy, Stefania. She grows it every year, but we haven't been back for a couple of years. This one I happen to find at TJ Maxx
Oh,
in their
okay.
home goods, but you can usually find it in the herb and spice section of any grocery.
Okay, French
Or-
blue lavender. I like that. Thank you, Vincenzo.
Yes. You can find it also at any natural food store. Like if you have a natural food store in the area that has like, bulk spices or herbs, they usually have little bags of lavender. I just want to make sure it's not something that was treated with pesticides or herbicides.
Right.
So if you grew it yourself, you can dry your own. You mentioned going to a lavender farm. I'm sure that they use some of it for cooking as well.
I'm sure. So I'm hoping that we have the same wonderful experience there as we did at Temecula olive oil. So, and
Thanks.
that is, so how much flour did you just add?
So this is kind of tricky. It's humid here in Minnesota. Normally the recipe is 1 3/4 cups, but occasionally I have to add another 1/4 of a cup, which is what I just did because it's really humid
Today is very humid.
today. And I'm sure in Las Vegas, you're probably warm but dry. So I would say the recipe is probably going to be just fine. But again, you may need to adjust it, and I'll kind of show you what to look for. You can see the dough looks a lot like a cookie dough, like any kind of a cookie dough. And to the comment about having the sponge.
I want to tell everybody to please notice that you have parchment paper on your aluminum cookie sheet.
Yes.
Big on heavy metals, and I've taught everybody always start with parchment before you put your foil on. And so I'm going to ask where Sheryl is from and where they are now. So Sheryl is from Minnesota. She grew up near Rochester, Minnesota, and they live there now, very near the clinic in Minnesota.
Yes, this is my home. We moved back from our little village where we lived in San Giuseppe. Vincenzo had his restaurant in Italy, right in the middle of Chianti. And that's really what the book is about meeting him and us living there for those years. It was pretty magical. to me. And I feel so fortunate to have had that experience. But we decided to move back for a couple of reasons. One was family. That's a big reason.
Yeah.
Another was just opportunities for both of us. For me, I needed to move back because of my job. Was in the day when remote working wasn't the norm. And so there were all kinds of tax laws, and they said I couldn't work from Italy anymore. I was working supplemental yet for Mayo. So we just decided to make a change and move back. We've been back here now 6 years. And
So, let me ask you a question. Lucy said that when she makes her biscotti, it cracks on top, and she wants to know what she's doing wrong.
oh, okay. So you can see that I have these into 3 logs. You can make 2 or 3. I like little mini biscotti. They're easier to eat.
But you like it, 2 is okay.
Yeah. And I know that with cantucci, sometimes people will do an egg wash on the top, and that could help with the cracking. It could be that the butter, for me, I don't tend to have cracking, but they do crumble sometimes, and that's normal. I think just, be okay with the cracking, be okay with the crumbling. They'll come back together when you do the second bake too. So this is actually going to go in the oven for the first bake. And it goes in at 375 for about 12 to 14 minutes. And the whole idea behind the word biscotti is it means that it's a twice baked cookie.
Oh, okay.
Biscotti means twice, by biscotti means twice baked. So they're going to go in the oven once. We'll take them out and then let them cool for a few minutes, slice them and put them back in again, which is why we have this little intermission to do the panzanella.
Off to the panzanella. And Lucy
I'm just going to wash my hands.
Lucy in Sulaco says, grazia.
Huh?
Lucy said, grazia for the.
Grazie. Thank you. Okay.
So the panzanella, this is such a great summer recipe. I love it because you don't have to turn your oven on, and it uses all these fresh ingredients that we get in the summer in Minnesota. Tomatoes are just starting to hit the farmer's market, and we usually have really good bread around the house. It's something that, of course, is very Tuscan. So we're going to switch over to an Italian, a kind of a real Tuscan tradition.
And I want to add a note that Judy Wood says that she gets her lavender at Sonoma. So that's really
good. Yes, I'm sure Williams-Sonoma has great lavender. Great idea. Hi, Judy. We can't wait to see you again.
Yes.
We've been talking about that.
The reason that you are here is because Judy was our second week or third week winner on the summer barbecue tournament. And last Wednesday, she did not have, she already had an appointment scheduled because we know that she's top realtor in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
And so she couldn't make the show. And so she gave it to you guys as Judy. So that's just lovely. But she still gets entered in our Temecula olive oil.
Love you.
We love you, Judy.
Okay.
We want to come and see you again.
Yes.
Okay, so let's Panzanella.
Yes, allora, the panzanella is typical from Tuscany, and usually is the bread. We use a bread, very old bread. Sometimes one is very hard when after 1 week, when it's it's very hard. Usually we put in all night in the water and vinegar, white vinegar. In the morning, when it's very fluffy, because
it almost absorbs it like a sponge. Yeah.
You need to squeeze.
Yeah, this is the
original. Yeah, this is the original recipe.
Yeah.
And we use cucumber, tomato, and red onions. This is the 3 ingredients. The red onions, usually in Italy, we use is from Tropea, it's South Italy, Calabria. It's different, it's not very sweet. It's sweet, it's not strong, this wine.
So nice, yeah.
And of course, extra virgin oil, basil, and it's done.
A little bit of salt.
Yeah, salt, yes.
To taste.
This is different. This is the Sheryl version.
qualify it though, because I noticed in Florence, they use the very traditional panzanella with the bread that's crumbled from the soaking. But in Tuscany, they sometimes toast the bread like we do here tonight.
In fact, I toasted the bread, and also you see,
So
it's the oil.
almost looks like croutons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I use the Love Tuscan Kitchen.
We've got some of our herb mix in there
too. And salt. When it's very toasted, usually 3-4 minutes, it's done. So you like it in saute or in the oven? This is your decision.
Right. Yeah. So,
and I cut the cubes.
Oh, Vincenzo. So I missed something.
Yes.
And I'm sure it was, just sort of translation here, but I'm just wondering if everybody else missed it too. And if they did, I just want to get you to repeat it because I act as sort of the advocate for everybody who's listening. So tell me, what did you tell me you soaked in the white vinegar and then in the next overnight and then the next day you squeezed it out? What was it? What did you do?
He was trying to explain there's 2 ways to make this.
Yeah, this is original.
The original way is to soak the bread and then crumble it with your fingers into the tomato mixture.
Right.
And that's how it's done in Florence.
So it was soaking the bread in the vinegar overnight. The hard bread, like hard bread.
It sort of revives the bread. It almost looks like little pieces of couscous when you do it that way.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Between it,
absorb, not the water and the white vinegar does absorb. This is why you need this squish for take out the water.
Yeah.
It's the same.
It's just
I lost the ability to visualize that, but the minute you said it looks like couscous, then I understood. What it would look like if you soaked it overnight and then it absorbs all of that liquid. But do you dry it before you crumble it, or you try to dry it before you crumble it, or?
No. You
as much on as you can.
Drain the bread.
Yeah.
And you squeeze the bread and you start to mix. You start to mix.
Okay.
No, you need the dry.
Yeah, so I mean, if you research this recipe, you might find both versions. You're going to find that version, which is very traditional, and then this one where I like it because it's crunchy. It's just my preference to do it this way.
Yeah, it's more like a crouton bread, and so I've never had the traditional, so I only knew this, so that's why I was a little off. And maybe everybody else was okay and followed you perfectly.
Oh, I'm glad you asked that question.
I got lost.
He was talking about he's very much a traditionalist, and I love that about him. He has all these authentic recipes in his collection. So yes, it's very similar. The rest of the ingredients are going to be pretty much the same. Again, this is one of those things that you can make different. If you like a different vegetable that's crunchy, you can add it. I add a little cheese, mozzarella cheese.
Yeah,
and that's kind of different too. That's my favorite thing to add.
In fact, this is why I cut the tomato.
Yep.
And the cucumber. And
perfect little cubes.
But me, I cut the small cubes much. You like a big, no problem.
I like them big. And what knives? What kind of knives do you use? Like, what brand knife do you use?
Well, we have a variety.
I have a lot of knives.
Yeah.
But usually I like it the Japanese.
The chef's knife is really what you need. You need a really good chef's knife.
I like Japanese a lot.
Okay. We can give you some.
Let's put it together. Let's see what you do.
Okay.
And of course, me, I take out the seeds because no like seeds much. You like the seeds, tomato, no problem.
Yeah, he takes all the seeds out of the tomato, which I never have time for.
And the same, the cucumber, no skin and no seed. The same, no seeds.
That is really good that way.
And now, okay, I cut the mozzarella, the same cube.
Little cubes. And this is kind of a fresher mozzarella. You can use the little balls of mozzarella too, if you find those. Sometimes Trader Joe's has those.
Bread goes in first.
And the cucumbers and tomatoes. And as soon as it starts coming together, the smell is incredible.
What kind of tomatoes are those that chef used?
These are actually heirloom. We found at the market.
Yeah.
They're heirloom tomatoes.
Are they
every tomato is good, no problem.
Right. Is that a baby heirloom or is it a large heirloom that
It's a larger one.
Yeah.
It was a large one.
Of
And
course.
if you had baby cherry tomatoes, would you have seeded those as well?
Okay, no problem.
No, you can put those in whole.
Every tomato is good. This is repeat me.
But I'm just wondering, do you seed your cherry tomatoes?
No, he doesn't.
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
I just can't. Me repeat. I use this one
The big ones to take the seeds out.
because me not like the seeds.
We're probably not gonna put all that cheese.
No.
That's a lot of cheese.
Oh,
It's
everybody loves cheese. We are hashtag
I
Wisconsin.
know, I love cheese.
Usually the recipe is half mozzarella.
Yeah. So we're just making it for 2 people. The recipe is gonna serve about 4, the one that I
This is
shared with
4.
you. Yeah.
I love it. I love
Okay.
it.
So then,
Extra virgin
it sounds like
Olive
you
oil?
have a great source for olive oil.
a lot because
Yeah.
we
About
need
3/4 of a cup.
because the secret is for this recipe. Now after we mix, we put in the refrigerator just maybe 30 minutes because we need come si dice, no? Sorry, no,
The flavors to come
yeah,
together.
exactly.
Yeah, it does really make a difference if you want to add the vanilla or the vinegar and the oil to the tomatoes and cucumber beforehand. It kind of helps get those flavors together and moving. Sometimes I'll add the basil,
It's
marinade.
interesting because they don't become soggy. I just had cucumbers in the refrigerator overnight from last night's dinner that were cucumbers with lemon juice and olive oil and fresh dill. And I mean, they were just as good today for lunch as they were last night for dinner. I think it's just the lettuce that doesn't hold up well once put in.
Exactly.
Okay,
Everything else, the tomatoes, the cucumbers, they're amazing.
It's so yummy.
I use this white. She like it white vinaigrette with fig.
Yeah, so it's a white balsamic and it has a fig, it's like a fig infused.
Mhm.
It's just adds a little sweetness to it, but you can use any kind of white balsamic that you like. I know Trader Joe's has a great version of it as well.
And Temecula olive oil is not infused, but it's actually pressed with the olives. So as chefs, you should both check that out. It
Yes,
is
I've been curious about that.
yes,
I'm
try to go back onto the Nanny Bubby or even in Gather with Nanny Bubby. And just, well, there's been so many Temecula olive oil postings, but
yes, I've
scroll
seen them all.
down. I think I was there in the end of May or early June. And watch that episode and you will never buy any other olive oil as long as you live, I promise you.
Oh, it sounds so great.
And now I put the fresh basil.
This is the very last thing. You add the basil. You don't want to do it too soon because it does get brown.
Right.
Of course,
Me, I like chiffonade, but you like it just big, no problem.
Teresa's asking, is the panzanella in the book?
the panzanella is in the book.
Good.
Yes,
Okay.
both of these recipes are in the book.
Mhm.
You know, when I was trying to decide what recipes to put in there, I put all my favorites. Put as many favorites as I could. My editor, you know, she had me cut quite a few things because it was getting too big. I think we need a second book needs to be just recipes. Because Vincenzo has this great black book of his
And
recipes.
Miriam Becker is here. Hey, Miriam, so good to have you here. Thank you so much. So we're going to add Miriam's name for sure.
Yay.
So do you need to get the biscotti out of the oven?
I just put the timer on because I realized I didn't do that. So
Yeah.
I'm going to check them in a few minutes. I just looked at them. I think I've got about 5 minutes left.
All right.
51 minutes.
Just about to run out of time. And I want to make sure that at least we see them after the first baking, if nothing else.
Yeah, okay. And I can explain what you do with the second baking. It's really easy. Look at that, it's beautiful. So there's your salad.
So, oh, that's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Take a bite. Show us how delicious it is.
Here, let me get
Take a
some.
bite. We can tell. We can feel the energy of the deliciousness. Go ahead.
Mhm.
Maybe salt, maybe.
Oh, yum.
Yeah.
Yum.
I'm sure salt.
Oh my gosh. To me, it tastes like summer. I just love it.
Tastes like summer.
Yeah, but this is very fast. It is good for the summer.
Mhm.
I love that. I love that.
Mm,
So
It's very simple.
I have a very quick question for Chef Vincenzo.
Yeah.
So I have a garden that I grow, lots of things, but I have 2 fabulous tomato bushes. I have San Marzano tomatoes.
Oh,
And I have beautiful cherry tomatoes. And I made sauce for the very first time out of fresh tomatoes, which I had never done before. I always used canned. But now that I have my own tomatoes growing
of
and
course.
my harvest was so big, I thought I would never get through them all. And I was giving them away too, you know. But what happened is, out of the cherry tomatoes and the San Marzanos, which was a combined sauce, there were too many seeds in the sauce. So a lot of people said that the way that their family made tomato sauce out of fresh tomatoes is they just chopped them up, sauteed them, softened them, and made the sauce out of that, maybe put half of them through a blender and the other half they left whole. But when I did that, I just felt there were way too many seeds. And I kept researching and researching. Of course, there was this, stick them in the boiling water for 30 seconds and pull them out. I lost track of the time, and then they overcooked, and you know, like it was a disaster. But what I did find, and this is the one that I really felt like I might try, is the use of a food mill in order to get the skin and the seeds out. So tell me, Chef Vincenzo, which
in fact, is you have this
the food mill.
The food mill is much better.
His mom does that.
My mom, for example, she don't have, and he cut the tomato and take out the seeds by hand, no?
Meticulous.
Yeah, it's different, but this is long time. This is why you need the food mill. Yeah, it's much better.
It's worth the investment. You'll have much better result, and your sauce will be smoother.
Because so the problem, of course, when you have the latte seeds, the taste is different.
Yeah. So with my next harvest, I'm gonna try that food mill.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And of course, when you make with the fresh tomato, of course, sometimes maybe when you finish the salts, the taste, sometimes you need more, a little bit sugar, because you know the taste sometimes is very bitter.
Well, you know what I use? Do you know what I use instead of sugar? Because I'm an anti-sugar person. What I use instead of sugar is 2 carrots, and I.
Yeah. Some people in South Italy for no use sugar and or carrots, or a little bit. You cut the onions, you half. You put the grill, and you put in the salts just 10 minutes, and you take out.
Right. Same softness. Okay.
Okay.
So I'm just going to show you what the biscotti look like. They're really warm yet, so I probably won't be able to cut them. But you can see that they grew a little bit. Get into the right direction.
Yes, they did. As a matter.
Yeah. So they grew a little bit. Now, in order to slice them, I'm going to let them cool for, I would like 10 minutes. You know, that's kind of ideal. Otherwise, they crumble and they kind of come apart. So I'm going to let them cool enough so that you can actually pick up this log and put it on to your cutting board. And then you slice them this way. You lay the cookies back down on the parchment paper and they go back in the oven to cook again. That's when they're going to get crispy. So they're really not too spongy. I would say that they're a cross between a spongy biscotti and a crispy one. They have the crispy crunch, but they're not the kind that would, you know, hurt your teeth if you eat it by itself.
Right. So I've seen them sliced on a diagonal. Do you slice those on diagonal, or do you?
I don't. I just slice them like bread. I just slice them right down the middle. Yeah. Yeah. So it's nice and brown on the bottom.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And now, of course, you need to wait 10 minutes before you cut.
Well, let's do this. Let's let Roseanne join us on Zoom, because Roseanne has been keeping track of all of you who have come to join us today. So she has all your names into a hat or a colander or something. I'm not sure what, but Roseanne is going to join us on Zoom right now. And and she'll be joining us any second, and we'll pick today the 2 winners, right? And maybe by then they'll be cool enough just for you to show us a quick cut.
Yes, we
And
Yeah.
it will. Thank you so much for joining us. So Roseanne should be
Yeah.
any second. So we'll be
Yeah,
standing
it's exciting.
by. There.
Exciting to think that it's gonna win.
Hi.
Hi.
There she is.
Having a time keeping track of everybody, or did you get everybody in?
I've got everybody.
Okay, into a fishbowl. Okay, so let's see who wins the book. Drawing for the book.
Oh,
Okay,
Drum roll.
Julie Neal.
All right, Julie Neal.
I'll
Pick
sign
up those
it.
books, I will tell you. Okay, and who wins the Tuscan herbs? Vincenzo herbs.
Cynthia Berman.
Cynthia Berman. All right. There we go. That's awesome. That's awesome. Roseanne, thank you so much. Do you want to stay here with us while we see if we're ready to cut these? Do you think one log? Do you think one log? would
Maybe we can try it. Vincenzo has hands of steel, so he can.
But, and I also want to thank Roseanne. Oh, and Lucy says congrats to everybody. And I just really want to thank Roseanne for always just being the best support and love for everybody in Gather, for sure. Everybody adores her. And Cynthia goes, hooray, hooray. And so you've got to taste
Absolutely.
these herbs, Cynthia, for when we go down to the lavender farm, for sure.
Oh, that's a great idea. And if anyone does want a signed copy, just message me. I can definitely get you a copy. They're also available obviously on Amazon. You
Right.
can get them in the Kindle version as well.
Love in Tuscan Kitchen.
Lavender Tuscan Kitchen.
See, I cut.
And then show her how you lay them down. So you just lay them flat then.
There
They
you
kind
go.
of get lined up on the sheet and they go back in the oven for a second baking.
And
They're
for
a little bit tender.
how long on the second baking?
On the second baking, probably, I do reduce the oven to 350 because of the white chocolate. It's a little bit hard to not burn it. And that goes in there for 10 minutes, 12 if they're not as crispy as you like it. You can adjust the timing a little bit too.
And how
Usually
was it?
10
Oh, Jim Benvenuti says ciao.
No.
And was it hard or difficult cutting through the almond?
No, and you can see if you have a good chef's knife and you go down with one motion, you don't use a serrated knife. You want to
No,
use a chef's
just
knife. Just go right through. It cuts right through the almonds.
you need to use this part.
Yeah,
You need
there
to
is a
use
little
this
secret
part.
to that.
Awesome.
So then it just cuts right through the almonds and you get that beautiful cross section.
Beautiful. So Judy, we thank you, Judy, for giving Sheryl
Yes.
and Chef Vincenzo an opportunity to be here.
Thank you so much.
And I thank the two of you. This was so fun, and
Enjoyed it so much too.
on
Thank
your
you.
beautiful love story. When you come to Vegas, I'll look forward to meeting you. Perhaps we can all meet in person in a kitchen and actually cook away together. I would love that very much. Roseanne, to you, my friend, thank you so much for always
Thank you
being
so much.
the
Thank you, everyone.
talented, loving artist that you are. And to all of you, so what,
Thank
maybe
you.
Roseanne and all three of us, all four of us can all together on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, go out and spread love like butter.
There. Yes, and bon appetit.
And bon appetit.
Buonanotte, grazie. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye,
Ciao.
Julie.
Bye, guys.